At 40,000 feet, morality is a matter of altitude. From up here, the world isn't a collection of homes, schools, or lovers. It is a grid of topography and heat signatures. It is a sterile map of green phosphor coordinates projected against a canopy of reinforced glass. I was Lieutenant Melissa Viper Thorne, and I didn't have opinions. I had flight vectors. I had rules of engagement. I had a pulse that sat at a resting 45 beats per minute, even when the afterburners kicked me in the chest with 5 gs of force. For 6 years, the coalition had owned the skies. We were the peacekeepers, or so the briefing said. We kept the insurgency pinned down in the valleys of ash, a swath of arid canyon land that had been bombed back to the Stone Age. My job was simple. Fly the patrol, confirm the sector is clear, and if the box on my heads-up display, HUD, turns red, release the payload. I was good at it because I was empty. I left my soul in the locker room with my civilian clothes. In the cockpit, I was just an extension of the machine, a biological servo pulling a stick. That was before the static cleared. That was before Tuesday. The mission started like any other, a dawn patrol over Sector 4. The sun was just bleeding over the horizon, turning the gray cloud deck into a bruising purple. My wingman, Hammer, was a silent shadow off my right wing, a triangular silhouette against the rising light. Strato lead to command, I said, my voice clipped and metallic. Entering Sector 4. Sensors clear. Copy, Strato lead, command crackled back. Maintain flight level 300. Watch for jamming in the lower frequencies. I clicked the mic twice to acknowledge. The hum of the engine was a comforting vibration in my bones. I scanned the instruments. Everything was green. Everything was perfect. And then, a pop. It wasn't the harsh screech of jamming equipment. It sounded like a record skipping. A soft, analog crackle that bypassed the encrypted military channels and settled right into the comms loop in my helmet. Should be blooming by now. If the rain holds off, the Jasmine will survive. I stiffened, my hand tightening on the stick. Command, Strato lead. I have cross-chatter on the primary line. Please advise. Static from command. Strato lead, say again? We read you 5 by 5. No chatter on our end. I frowned behind my oxygen mask. Negative. I'm hearing a voice. It's funny, the voice came again. It was a woman's voice. It wasn't delivering coordinates. It wasn't shouting propaganda. It was low, husky, and terrifyingly intimate. It sounded like she was sitting in the ejector seat behind me, whispering against my neck. I used to think the sky was empty. But it's so crowded up there, isn't it, Melissa? My heart rate spiked. The monitor on my dash blinked yellow, 75 BPM. Identify yourself, I snapped, flipping through backup frequencies, trying to isolate the intrusion. You are in violation of coalition airspace. Identify immediately. My name is Sandra, the voice said. She sounded amused, but tired. And you're flying a spiraling pattern over my greenhouse. You're blocking my sunlight. This is a military channel, I said, cold ice flooding my veins. How did you get this frequency? How do you know my name? I know a lot of things. I know you check your flaps 3 times before takeoff. I know you hum when the G-force hits. And I know you don't really want to drop that ordnance you're carrying. I should have reported it instantly. Protocol 7. Any psychological warfare attempts must be flagged and the pilot must abort. I looked over at Hammer's jet. He was steady. He hadn't heard a thing. This was a direct, point-to-point breach. I am blocking you, I said. You can try, Sandra said, her voice dropping an octave, turning into a sound that felt like warm honey pouring over the cold steel of my cockpit. But the silence is loud up there, Melissa. Don't you get lonely talking to machines? I switched the channel. The silence returned. But my hands were shaking. Over the next 2 weeks, Sandra became the ghost in my machine. I flew sorties every day. And every day, exactly 11 minutes into the flight, she would appear. She never spoke about the war. She never threatened me. She didn't ask for state secrets. She talked about life. I made bread today, she said on a Thursday, while I was locking a radar track on a supply convoy. Real yeast. I had to trade a generator part for it. It smells like memories. Do you remember what fresh bread smells like, Melissa? Or does everything smell like recycled oxygen and jet fuel to you? Stop talking to me, I hissed, banking hard to the left. I saw you dip your wing yesterday, she continued, ignoring me. Just for a second. You were watching the sunset. I saw the glint. It was beautiful. I was adjusting for wind shear, I lied. You were watching the colors. It's okay to be human, you know. Even in that tin can. I started to wait for her. That was the danger. The insidious rot of connection. I found myself checking the clock, counting down the minutes until the static popped and that husky, warm voice filled my helmet. We started having conversations. Brief, jagged things at first. Why do you stay? I asked her one day, flying low through a canyon run. We bomb this sector every week. Why haven't you evacuated? This is my home, Sandra replied. My grandmother is buried in the garden. My books are here. And besides, someone has to watch the sky and make sure you don't get too lonely. I'm not lonely. I'm efficient. You're sad, Melissa. I can hear it in your breathing. You breathe shallowly, like you're afraid to take up too much space. Take a deep breath for me. Right now. No. Do it. Inhale. Hold it. Let it out. I did it. I couldn't help it. I took a massive drag of oxygen, my chest expanding against the flight suit. There, she whispered. I heard that. Feels better, doesn't it? Who are you? I asked, my voice trembling. Are you intel? Are you some kind of psyop? I'm just a woman with a radio and a lot of time, she said. And I think I'm falling a little bit in love with the woman who flies the silver jet. My jet lurched. I had actually jerked the stick. That's absurd, I said, trying to regain my composure, though my face burned hot behind the mask. You don't know me. I know you better than the men giving you orders, Sandra said softly. I know you have a conscience. I know you wonder about the people down here. I know you. The change happened on a Tuesday. The briefing was standard, but the target was new. Sector 4, Grid 9. Intelligence claimed it was a munitions depot hidden beneath a civilian structure. We were to level it. Use the bunker busters. Total saturation, the commander said, tapping the map. Nothing stands. I walked to my jet feeling like I was underwater. Grid 9. I strapped in. The canopy lowered. The engine whined to life. I took off, the G-force pressing me back, but this time, it didn't feel like a comforting embrace. It felt like a hand holding me down. I reached cruising altitude. 11 minutes passed. Pop. Melissa. Her voice wasn't warm today. It was urgent. Sharp. Sandra, I said. You need to get off the channel. Today is bad. I know, she said. I know where you're going. Grid 9. I can't talk about the mission. There are no munitions there, Melissa. It's a school. It's a makeshift clinic and a school. We moved the children there because the basement is reinforced. My stomach dropped. Intel says it's a depot. Intel is wrong. Or they're lying. Melissa, listen to me. I am there. I am inside the building. If you drop that bomb, you kill me. The world stopped. The green grid on my HUD blurred. You're at the target? I'm holding the radio in one hand and a little girl's hand in the other, Sandra said. Her voice cracked. It was the first time I heard her afraid. Please. Don't do this. I have orders, Sandra. If I abort, I'll be court-martialed. They'll send Hammer to do it. Then stop Hammer. I can't just. Melissa. Her voice tore through the static, raw and pleading. You are not a machine. You are the woman who watches sunsets. You are the woman who breathes when I ask her to. Make a choice. Not their choice. Your choice. We were 2 minutes out. The target box appeared on my HUD. A small, gray concrete structure nestled in the valley. Strato lead, tally-ho on target, Hammer's voice cut in on the squad channel. Locked and ready. Commencing run. I looked at the building. I imagined the jasmine. I imagined the bread. I imagined a woman with a husky voice holding a child's hand, looking up at the sky, looking for me. Strato 2, abort, I said. My voice was calm. Terrifyingly calm.
Say again, lead?
Hammer sounded confused. Abort run. Intelligence error. Non-combatants in the zone. Pull up. Command says clear to engage, lead. I have green light.
I am ordering you to pull up, Hammer.
I shouted. Negative, lead. I have the tone. Releasing in 3, 2. I didn't think. I didn't calculate. I just reacted. I slammed the stick to the right and punched the afterburners. My jet rolled, the wingtips slicing through the air just feet above Hammer's canopy. The wash from my engines hit him, destabilizing his flight path. Brake right. I screamed. Hammer cursed, banking hard to avoid a collision. His targeting lock broke. The bomb didn't drop.
Strato lead, what the hell are you doing?
Command barked in my ear. You have deviated from flight path. You are engaging friendly aircraft.
Stand down immediately.
Melissa. Sandra's voice was a whisper in my other ear. Command, I have visual on non-combatants, I lied. I am experiencing mechanical failure. Navigation systems are down. Liar, Hammer said.
She tried to ram me.
Return to base immediately, Viper, Command ordered. That is a direct order. If you do not comply, you will be designated hostile. I looked at the fuel gauge. I looked at the vast, empty desert below. And then I looked at the small concrete building that was still standing. Negative, Command, I said. I reached up and flipped the transponder to off. I'm not coming back. I dove. The landing was ugly. I found a stretch of hard-packed highway about 5 miles from Grid 9. I blew the tires on impact, the jet screaming and sparking as it skidded across the asphalt, tearing up the road before coming to a grinding, dusty halt. Silence. True silence. No engine hum. No radio chatter. Just the ticking of cooling metal. I popped the canopy. The air rushed in, hot, dry, and smelling of sage and dust. It didn't smell like recycled oxygen. It smelled like the world. I climbed out, my legs shaking so hard I almost fell. I unclipped my helmet and let it drop to the ground. The wind caught my hair, whipping it across my face. I saw a cloud of dust approaching from the south. A battered old Jeep. I stood by the wreckage of my life, my career, and my safety, and I waited. The Jeep skidded to a halt 10 yards away. The engine cut. A woman stepped out. She was taller than I expected. She wore dusty cargo pants and a loose linen shirt stained with oil and earth. Her hair was dark, tied back in a messy knot, strands escaping to frame a face that was fierce, lined with worry, and undeniably beautiful. She stood there, looking at me, looking at the pilot in the flight suit. "Melissa?" she asked. Her voice was the same. That low, husky sound that had kept me sane. "Sandra," I breathed. She didn't run. She walked towards me with a slow, deliberate certainty. She stopped inches from me. I could smell the jasmine on her skin, beneath the dust. I could see the gold flecks in her eyes. "You followed instructions," she said softly, a half-smile tugging at her lips. "No," I shook my head, tears finally spilling over, hot and fast. "I didn't. I broke every rule." She reached out. Her hands were rough, calloused, warm. She cooped my face, her thumbs wiping away the tears. "You followed the instruction that mattered," she whispered. "Make a choice." She leaned in. The kiss wasn't like the movies. It was desperate and terrified and relieved. It tasted of salt and dust. It was the collision of two worlds that were never meant to touch. I gripped her shirt, pulling her closer, anchoring myself to the only real thing I had ever known. Above us, the sky was a massive, empty blue. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't looking up. I was right here, on the ground. We have to go, Sandra said, pulling back but keeping her forehead against mine. They'll send a recovery team. I know a place in the canyons. The radio signals don't reach there. I don't need the radio anymore, I said. I took her hand. And for the first time, I followed a leader I actually believed in. We got into the Jeep, turned our backs on the smoking jet, and drove into the noise of the living world.